The building was quiet, the kind of silence that makes every sound echo just a little louder. The janitor moved steadily down the hallway, his mop bucket rattling softly on the tiles. He had walked these same corridors every night for years, and nothing ever changed, until now. As he passed by one of the old storage rooms, he froze. It was supposed to be locked, dark, and empty, yet something unusual caught his attention. At first, it was faint, so faint he thought he might be imagining it. A soft hum, like someone quietly singing to themselves, drifted through the heavy door. His heart quickened. He stood still, straining his ears, convincing himself it was just the creak of pipes or the wind pushing through a crack. But the sound grew clearer, carrying a rhythm no building could make on its own. The janitor set his mop aside and stepped closer. Each movement felt heavier than the last, his chest tight with curiosity and unease. He pressed his ear against the cold wood of the door, and the humming continued, gentle, steady, unmistakably human. The realization sent a shiver down his spine. This room had been locked for weeks, the key in his very pocket. How could there possibly be someone inside? He leaned back, staring at the handle. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his keyring. Whatever waited behind that door, he knew, would change his night forever, and maybe much more than that. The janitor's keys jingled in his shaky hands as he slid one into the lock. The click of the latch echoed down the empty hallway, and slowly, the heavy door creaked open. What he saw inside made him freeze in place. Huddled on the floor was a young boy, no older than 12. A thin blanket was wrapped around his shoulders, and beside him sat a worn-out backpack with schoolbooks spilling out. His small flashlight flickered, barely illuminating the space, but enough to reveal tired eyes staring back in fear. The janitor stepped inside carefully, lowering his voice so as not to startle him. "Hey, it's okay. What are you doing here?" he asked softly. The boy clutched his book tighter, as if he had been caught doing something wrong. After a long pause, he whispered, I didn't mean to cause trouble. My mom works late, and we don't have anywhere else to stay right now. It's quiet here. I can do my homework." The words cut deep. The janitor felt his throat tighten as he took in the scene, the blanket that looked more like a rag, the stack of homework pages filled with neat handwriting, the flashlight running low on batteries. This wasn't mischief. This was survival, paired with determination. The boy looked up again, eyes shining with both fear and hope. In that fragile moment, the janitor understood, this child wasn't hiding because he wanted to, he was hiding because he had nowhere else to go. The janitor sank onto a nearby crate, his mop and bucket forgotten in the hallway. He studied the boy in silence for a moment, his heart twisting. The child's cheeks were pale, his clothes slightly worn, but there was a spark in his eyes that refused to fade. Even in a locked, dusty storage room, he had carved out a little space for his dreams. The janitor couldn't help but remember his own childhood, nights spent in cramped apartments, the constant worry about bills, the feeling of being invisible to the world. He had once sat in the dark just like this boy, wishing someone would notice. Now, years later, here was that same struggle staring back at him in the form of a child determined to keep learning, no matter the circumstances. The boy bent his head over the workbook again, trying to act normal, as if being caught didn't matter. His small voice broke the silence. I don't want to fall behind in school. If I study hard, maybe things will get better for me and my mom." The janitor felt his chest tighten, his eyes misting with emotion. This wasn't just a boy hiding in an empty room. This was someone refusing to surrender to hardship, someone clinging to hope in the only way he knew how. In that moment, the janitor realized he couldn't walk away. What he had found wasn't a trespasser, it was a fighter. And that changed everything. The janitor took a deep breath, his decision already made. He reached into his lunch bag and pulled out the sandwich he had been saving for later. Holding it out, he said gently, "You need this more than I do." The boy hesitated, then slowly reached for it, his small hands trembling with both hunger and gratitude. Over the next few nights, the janitor returned with extra food, a warmer blanket, and even a fresh set of batteries for the boy's flashlight. They began to talk more. The boy shared stories about his mother, how she worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat, how she always told him to never give up, even when life got hard. The janitor listened quietly, each word cutting deeper into his heart. But he knew food and blankets weren't enough. The boy and his mother needed more than temporary kindness, they needed stability. One evening, instead of bringing just a sandwich, the janitor brought courage. He introduced the boy to the building's manager and explained the situation, his voice steady but filled with emotion. To his surprise, the manager didn't turn them away. Moved by the janitor's compassion and the boy's determination, the staff came together. They arranged temporary housing support for the family, and soon after, helped the boy's mother secure steadier work within the company itself. The janitor watched it all unfold, realizing that what started as a secret in a locked room was now opening into something far greater, a chance at a real future. Weeks turned into months, and the boy's life began to change in ways he had once only dreamed of. No longer hiding in a cold, dusty room, he now had a small but warm home to return to each night. His mother, relieved from the constant fear of instability, worked proudly at her new job, her smile brighter and her spirit lighter. At school, the boy thrived. With proper rest, regular meals, and a safe place to study, his grades soared. Teachers noticed his sharp mind and unshakable determination, unaware of the nights he had once spent huddled in a locked room with only a flashlight and hope to guide him. The janitor often visited, bringing small gifts, a notebook, a pack of pencils, or just words of encouragement. But to the boy, he had already given the greatest gift, the reminder that even when the world seems indifferent, there are people who will choose kindness. One afternoon, as the boy proudly showed the janitor a test he had aced, the older man felt his eyes well with tears. What had begun as a strange noise behind a locked door had grown into a bond, a second chance, a story of compassion that spread quietly through the community. The janitor walked away that day with a full heart, knowing he hadn't just unlocked a room, he had unlocked hope. And the boy, now standing taller, carried with him the unshakable belief that one act of kindness could change everything.